And now we have sound. Sorry about that, folks. I'm Tamas from Slitherine, and I'm going to show you Decisive Campaign's Barbarossa tonight. The game is the third one in the Decisive Campaign series, uh, but despite that, it's a very, very unique treatment uh, of the conflict in question. It tries to concentrate on the operational aspects of command from a truly unique perspective. Two different perspectives, actually. Uh, when you are playing the Germans invading the Soviet Union, uh, you are put into the shoes of Feldmarschall Halder, who was in command of the invasion, which um, which means that you will have both subordinates and superiors to deal with. Uh, when you are playing the Soviets, then you will be playing Stalin himself, which is of course a much more powerful position, but it does have its own limitations. So let's jump straight into the game then. You can see I am on this screen where you set up the scenario parameters. These are the default settings, which I will leave except for the Geneva Convention one. The game covers the some incidents that could happen during such a conflict, although it handles them in a generic way, just from the perspective of the operational command. But we understand if this is kind of a sensitive subject for some, so that's why we opted for Gentleman's War by default settings. So anyway, let's get into the scenario. You can see that this is the pre-start turn where you will not move your troops, but rather select some options. You see that at start you're offered the help window, which contains a number of tutorial videos. The game is full of tooltips and is pretty easy to start playing it. However, it is a complex game simulating a lot of aspects, so we thought that you might find those videos handy. Anyway, as suggested in the message at the start, let's go straight to the reports. So this is just before the invasion, and these are the steps or options that you go through while basically setting up the offensive. Let's start with the most important one. We are summoned to Berlin, where the Führer will let us know about the plans and the objectives for Barbarossa. Now, this is a very important decision that you can make immediately. But before I go there, let's just quickly look at this. You see the message here explaining to you what happened, and then you see who the message is from, and then some information about those characters. And then on the right you see some important information, the number of political points you have, because during the game most of these choices will cost you political points. These represent basically the things that your ability to make things done, and these are influenced by a lot of factors. And then some help, explanation about the persons involved, more detailed explanation of the options. But for now, basically, I will go with the first option. I will be supporting Hitler's plans. It's I take whatever main objective he wants. It means that I will have a lot of political points to start with, because he will be happy with my attitude and will not try to block me in any way. The other options are concentrating on Moscow or demanding military independence, and of course the Führer wouldn't like these very much. Okay, so let's support his plans. Then you can get a summary of the effect of your decision. You can see that my relationship with the Führer has improved slightly. I'll show you that in a moment. I got 70 political points, and our main objective this time is Rostov. The second priority is to destroy the army HQs, although that's something you will want to do anyway. Priority 3 and Leningrad, and final priority 4 is Moscow. Okay. The rest of the decisions you make, some of them come up randomly, some are fixed and come up each time you start the game. So let's go to those. Select route for Army Group North. This is for your Einsbahnstruppe, the guys working on the railroads. They will want to know which main railroad route to concentrate work on. And again, you get all kinds of help for this now. I will go with the Riga-Narva line. That's it really, there is no optimal choice. It depends on what your style is, what you want to do, and how the actual fighting turns out. Okay, same for Army Group Center. I will go with the Brest-Minsk-Smolensk line. The Bialystok-Vilnius line goes more north, as you can see. So if I was aiming primary for Leningrad, I will probably go for that route. But let's go toward Minsk now. Okay. This one is about captured oil stockpiles. This is this involves fuel, and fuel is very important. I will show you once I start the units moving. Let's just see it in terms of the different decisions you have. I will not go through all the explanations now, but you see that the different options you have, their political point costs, and the chance you have for getting your desired result, which is in this case to increase your oil stockpiles before the invasion. Let's go to Hitler's chief of staff. Well, that didn't work out. I had 40% chance of a good outcome and ended up with a roll of 80. And von Brauchitsch really doesn't like me anymore for that. Now here is the question of trying to get the Eisenbahntruppe, the railway guys, to get some rest before the invasion, because at this time these guys were working on the rail network of Poland. Yes, I would like to have them get some rest, which again affected some characters, about whom, by the way, you can learn in all the information when you are making the decision. Now, these what if decisions are, see, Romania. What if Romania means that by sacrificing some points and victory points, you can have the Romanian part of the front start together with the rest of your forces. And in Finland, you can make it, again, for the price of political points and victory points, you can make it more likely for the Finns to join you properly in the invasion and go through the and go past their previous border with the Soviets. While I'm not clicking on them, it's just to show you that if you wish, you can delegate decisions like a real officer would, and in this case, they will go to their default choices, which is sometimes fine, sometimes not the best of ideas. So let's end the turn and get into proper fighting. You see that I got a warning that I have decided to delegate 2 decisions. You're fine? Yes. Okay, so now the AI is making its plans as well. Of course, now the AI couldn't move this turn either because it's a planning phase for the AI as well. Okay, what you see now is for kind of like flavor and for you to get an idea where the campaign went at this time historically. Each turn are 4 days, and each start you get an extract from Franz Halder's diary. This is the guy that basically you're representing, or rather his position in the command chain. And then you get notifications of important events like Directive 21 showing you the objectives I talked about earlier. Then you get the summary of the most important facts you should know for the turn. For example, the commander of Army Group North really doesn't like me, so this is giving me penalties. You see that the game has quite extensive tooltips. It means that some units will be fighting with penalties thanks to this bad relationship. But then again, von Rundstedt really likes me, so that's giving me bonuses. And then some reminders that I need to assign some resources in the form of cards, as you will see in a moment. 4 of reinforcement divisions are pending deployment, and I have 4 decisions to make. All of this stuff, like for example the division pending deployment and such, you can see more detailed information. Okay, so here we are. What are we seeing? The hexes, the counters, these are standard wargame features, of course. I can switch over to the unit icons, as you can see, but let's just, well, I prefer the NATO counters, so let's stick with those. What might be a bit unusual for you is the track columns indicated on the map. And these deal with the fuel supplies going to the Panzer Gruppes. You have 4 Panzer armies altogether, 1 in Army Group North, 1 in Army Group South, and then 2 in the central one, and they need fuel desperately. And what happens is that these fuel supplies are being deployed from forward supply bases. Each theater, north, central, and south, has one by train, if possible. And then once the supply reaches the forward supply bases, the FSBs, by train, it will go via trucks to the Panzergruppe HQs. There is normal supply being tracked as well. Quite detailed, actually. Let me just show you quickly. I'm selecting one of the units. Also, you can see detailed information about the what kind of equipment and troops are in a unit. You can also click on them to get more detailed information if you are interested. Well, of course, the counter itself has a summary of the strength of the unit and its organizational level. Okay, so switching on the supply mode, you can see that everything is green, of course, and because I selected this unit, you can see the path the supply is taking to a unit. Okay, so let's get started. Cards are a very important part of the game, just in all the other 2 decisive campaigns games. I'm switching to the command cards for now. The turn summary warned me to assign the focus to different armies. For each theater, you can have focus command resources to one of the armies. Let's start with Army Group North. Now, which HQs I can actually select to receive focus depends on my relationship with the army commanders. It's because, you know, if there is enmity, then there is no effective cooperation, just like in real life. So let's, since I will be heading very much north, and I cannot choose the 4th Panzer Group, let's just select the 18th Army. Having focus on an army means that there will be command cards available for that particular HQ from the next turn. And of course, which army you select here very much depends on your plans. You have the similar option for artillery. You can either select an army to receive offensive support or defensive support via counter battery action. You can only assign these to infantry armies, since the artillery wouldn't be able to keep up with the with your panzers. You can you could see that it will take 4 days for this to take effect. That's because the Germans are receiving quite significant bonuses for the first couple of turns, and so the artillery assets, the theater level artillery assets, are already counted in. Okay, quickly from the other cards. Right now, the Luftwaffe at this stage is concentrating on destroying the Soviet Air Force. So you don't have tactical support available, but you could have them provide emergency resupply or emergency fuel for some of your cut-off units, but let's hope this won't be necessary. And posture is basically you can designate these different postures to your armies in a different theater. Blitzkrieg gives huge offensive bonuses, but really hurts your defense. Defensive is the other end, and sustained is basically between the two. This is something you will not be caring much for in the first few turns, but as the Soviets start to try and make a stand, and you start to stretch thin, you will want to keep these options in mind and have some of your armies switch into a sustained offensive or even a defensive stance to hold the line where you are not really advancing. Okay, so moving your units is fairly straightforward. You have these buttons here, but there are also hotkeys which I prefer to use. And of course, since we are on the front line, let's just start with the attack. You set up an attack by selecting the hex you're targeting, the level of information you have available for the enemy units, depending on the fog of war and the reconnaissance ability of your units, of course. Again, I could use the button here, but also via hotkey of A. You see summary of the enemy units in the hex, and you have several ways of allocating your attacking units. You have the you can select it from the list. You can click on them here to select space, select them hitting space, or you can just use the all button. You see that the stacking limit I have now is 200 points because I'm attacking just from one direction, and I'm slightly over it, so I will have some overstacking penalties. It's a matter of frontage. You cannot just shove whatever number of troops in there and hope to succeed. But still, we should be fine, so let's attack. That went fairly well. This is the battle summary, as you can see. but you can have all kinds of detailed information. You can dig as deep as you wish. But if that's not your cup of tea, you can just stay with the summary and be perfectly able to manage the game from here. So let's move our victorious units. You see I switched into move mode for the unit. You can see the hexes I can reach, and also you can see that from this hex I could attack in those directions. Also I can move all the units in a hex by selecting group move down here or hitting G. Let's see if these guys can... Yep. They can plug the hole, although to be honest, I guess the Soviets, if they are even will be able to move, will be more busy with running for their lives. Let's see if I can still attack these guys. Selected A as the attack mode, and then clicking on all to select all eligible units. Again, a bit overstacked now, a bit worse odds, but I'm still going to try. Now, you see that I actually lost this battle because I have 0 action points left for my units. Attacking, just like moving, takes action points, and this is what you will always want to balance, because you might not want to attack with all of your adjacent units because you will want some of them to exploit the breakthrough and move on. But then again, if you don't attack with enough units, your attack will just fail. So you see, I managed to cause some considerable losses and organizational hit to the enemy units, but they held their ground. Okay, sticking to the 18th army for now. The game, of course, has zone of control rules. Moving into the zone of control of enemy units slows you down. What I will try to accomplish now, though, is kind of a miracle, but I'll try to capture Kaunas before this bridge is destroyed by the Soviets. So let's try and do that. I'm hitting A to attack this Soviet unit. I'm selecting one of my divisions here, and let's just by clicking cycle through my units, let's have the SS guys join in. And attack. Yeah, this will not always go this smoothly once the initial German bonus is exhausted, but so far so good. Now, I could try and encircle that unit there, but for now I just really want to get to that river crossing, so I'm attacking these guys with all 3 of my units. Defeated units cannot retreat into enemy controlled hexes, so if I select these guys, attack them now, they will only be able to retreat south. You see, I switched to movement mode with these guys, but they have used so many action points in that offensive that they cannot continue to attack. I do have my panzers though, and I really don't like to use them for kind of, breaking through the first lines. I really want that river crossing. So I'm selecting this hex for attack with hitting A again and going with all my panzers. Okay, that's great. And of course I still have more units. Moving one by one, you can see that they will be able to attack. Also, you can see that I selected their HQs, and selecting a headquarters shows you the units under its command. So, and of course, you always want to keep units together as much as possible. Also, headquarters have ranges, and I can even turn this on so you can see it. As you see, these guys will be fine, but if these guys remain here, they will be out of command range. So let's just push the HQ forward as well. And now do this probably kind of foolish move, using my precious panzers to assault a city. But let's try it anyway. And of course, they already spent most of their movement points, so they failed. I'm in such a rush because the Soviet AI will start blowing bridges up. You don't know when, you don't know how much time it will take them, but they will do once you get close. And although you can repair them, actually that's something that happens in the background automatically. It's very unpredictable how long it will take your engineers to do it, so you don't want to wait for that. Okay, switching to the central a bit. And let's try to close these guys up in a nice little pocket. For that also, I'll try to push these guys out of the way. I select them as the target. Two of these units of mine I selected by hitting space. Good. So let's push some panzers through them. Of course, combat range and such HQ command range will be an issue here as well. So, but then again, you want to encircle and destroy as many Soviet units as you are able to, because it's just way too much of them, way too many. And as you see, so supply will be cut for these guys now. I don't think they will be able to get out because there's a swamp here. Their efficiency will decrease rapidly when out of supply, but they will not be destroyed on their own. You'll have to do that. It's basically about finding a balance in waiting for them to get weaker and just taking the time to eliminate them, because you cannot just stand around and you cannot have them stand around. The AI will try to break out of pockets like this. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff I still want to show you though, but let me continue my offensive. I will now scroll down to the south. You see that the Romanians and the 11th Army are inactive, hence grayed out, because I didn't pay the price in victory points and political points to activate them on the first turn. Let's try some encirclements here as well. All units. I'm seeing a question about air-ground support. This is it's present but abstracted to a level. Once the Luftwaffe is done destroying the Soviet Air Force, you will have cards here that will let you assign tactical air support to given armies, which will give them bonuses. Also, you can notice this. You can notice these aircraft icons here. These are possible airfields for the Luftwaffe. When you capture these cities, periodically you will get the option to relocate the airfields to get closer to the front. But also these airfields have a quality rating, so the further you get in and the more destroyed these hexes are, the less the airfield quality is. So usually you want your airplanes as close as possible, of course, but it's not always a clear-cut decision. Now usually I am putting much more thought on where I attack and what I do, and once again usually I try to optimize my advances by using the infantry armies to break through the first line and then exploiting the breach with the panzer armies. It's what will be very apparent for you, mostly in here in the south, is trying to find the right size for a pocket you want to create, because it's fairly easy to overreach. Then again, you cannot just waste time pocketing a few units and then mopping them up, eliminating them. As you see, it's quite quick. The game is quite quick to handle, especially with the hotkeys. And now my poor panzers, where most of them are largely out of action points. Also, you see this garrison unit in the in Brest-Litovsk. This is one of the interesting parts that in terms of greatly increasing replayability is the Soviet side has a limited number of options to add quite strong garrison units into cities. When a human is playing the Soviet side, they have decision cards for this. The AI semi-randomly selects a number of cities when the game starts and receives garrison units there. So you don't know in advance basically you will not know which cities the Soviets will stand and fight in, and which they will be much more likely to give up. And this, of course, has a huge effect on the game. For example, as you can see, Brest-Litovsk is on a major rail line, and I really wouldn't mind if the Soviets just ran out of it and let me take it and start converting the railroad. Same goes for Lvov, which has a garrison unit. So that's not a lucky start for sure, but then of course it means less garrison units deeper in Russia. It's one of the really crucial decisions you are making when you are playing the Soviets. By the way, there is of course play by email in the game. so not just single player. Okay, I have a lot of units to move, but let's just skip ahead one turn so I can just kind of show you what. Right. I forgot about the decisions. Luckily, the game warned me, so just let's go to the reports. Okay, you can see we have lots of reports. Basically, this is the part, the decisions, marked with the red exclamation mark that you really want to care about. This is all kinds of detailed information that you don't need specifically to play the game. But of course, the deeper you go into the details, the better decisions you can make. And not much to see here, but from the next turn onwards, one of the nice little features is your performance evaluation. Based on your results and progress, the game will give you points on these different categories. It's quite fun to follow that actually. Okay, air units were mentioned in the chat. So this is the decision where you can make a call on where the Luftwaffe to be used. So now that the Soviet Air Forces basically destroyed at the start of the offensive, but what I didn't tell you is that then the Luftwaffe switches over to interdiction basically. And the longer they do that, the harder time the Soviet units will have to move, but you will not have tactical air support. So here you can make a decision to when to call off the current Luftwaffe mission and switch to ground support. Now, of course, the earlier that happens, the more costly it is for you, because not necessarily because that's the better option for you, because I like the 0 PP option actually, but because it takes some convincing of people and using your influence. So let's just maintain the air offensive for 12 more days. Göring likes me because of that. I don't really care. And then you see that Brauchitz likes me considerably less, who is commander of the OKW. And then again, these some of these decisions are, well, they come up based on your situation mostly. Some of them kind of semi-random, but they basically reflect what's going on. This is a kind of like a secondary option about suggesting the Romanians to expand their oil fields so that you get more supplies. But I just avoid doing that. Okay, security divisions. There is, of course, the where security divisions behind your lines are obstructed and have two jobs: mopping up the remaining Soviet troops and then switching over to defending your supply lines from partisan attacks. So let's just I will leave them on mop-up detail for another month because I'm not that worried about partisans, and just with every decision you can get detailed explanations about all aspects of any decision. So yeah, you can see me clicking quickly through these, but you can get all the information you need to make a proper decision. Von Lieb or Lab, who is the commander of Army Group North, now dislikes me a little less because this was his preferred choice, and the same for Army Group South. Okay, let's just end the turn. Before I do that though, here are my, well, not all of the relations or not all the characters, but the major ones. You see the level of relationship, what they are responsible for, and what affects. You can hover over the tooltip to see what affects this relationship. So Hitler's attitude is neutral towards me, which means, first of all, that he will agree for one of the Panzergruppers to change theaters if I use that option. However, he would not give permission for winter preparations. I would like to point out this poor guy on the right, General Wagner. He's in charge of the trucks, to put it simply. He's the guy I'm most often in bad relationship with as the game progresses, because the quick advance of the Panzergruppers puts really big strain on the logistical system, as it happened historically. And often when I just want to keep the advance on, all I keep telling the guy is just, yeah, I don't care, just make it happen. And that's of course doesn't bode well for our personal relationships. You could see the AI breaking out of the southern little pocket, and also attempting the same at the center. And then again, but in general, trying to build a more sensible defensive line. Okay, there's a question about replacements and reinforcements. There are programmed reinforcements. Whether they arrive in time or not depends on some factors. They will arrive with the respective headquarter units, so you will want to keep the headquarters, if possible, on the railroads, for example. And then there are different rounds of replacements arriving for the Germans on given turns, and then distributed among the units that need them. Okay, so let's see the reports. There are lots of them, so we don't have time to go through all, but just you see separate logistic reports for the different army groups, and then more information about the Panzergruppers. There is meteorological report. You even have battle reports, so which are generated based on your battles. So you can see Army Group North had these battles, and then you get 7-hour assault in reduced visibility, description of the weather. Again, this is something you don't need, because you could see the result of the battle when it happened. But if you want to know more about why it happened, you can check out these. Okay, let's see the decisions for this turn. Theater allocations is about the fuel stockpile. You can notice that by default, Army Group Central has almost double than the two others, and that's because Army Group Central has 2 Panzergruppers, so I'm not going to touch this. This is one of the options that came up. Fuel substitution, of where you can basically extort some influence to receive more fuel eventually. And then there is the problem of the rail infrastructure. What happened historically is that the Germans converted as much Soviet railroad as they could, but then they ignored infrastructure, water towers, signaling, that kind of stuff, and that really caused problems for them. And every once in a while you will need to make these decisions, what to concentrate on. Will you insist on rebuilding infrastructure as they go along converting railroads, or just ignore them? And just with most decisions in the game, there is no clear-cut good answer. It's, if I want infrastructure, the conversion will go slower. But but when done, it will be more efficient for my pool of trains. So just ignore the infrastructure for now. Gerke, who is the train guy, doesn't like me for it, but Brauschwitz does, because the military, or the wing, the troop wing, the land offensive wing of the leadership, they just want to advance and advance, also because of politics. Okay, so let me see. And here we go. You can notice that let's hide the units. You can see that I wasn't fast enough, and the Soviets did destroy this bridge. Now, this is not the end of the world. Since I control at least one side of the crossing of the bridge, my obstructed behind-the-screen engineers have already started working on it to repair it. And let's just finally take this city. By the way, just switching off the units again, you can see these major railroads. Black means they are German gauge, and red means they are Soviet gauge, and this starts converting to black as you capture it, and your railroad people keep working on them. Now you can also see this is the right now the main supply base, but this will become the forward supply base, as I will have the decision later on to move it. So these guys are really eager to break out, so maybe I will want to mop them up. Okay, let's just see the situation again. So these guys have broken out, but of course, as you can see, I have the option to just cut off an even larger number of enemy units. And here we go. By the way, thanks Vic for explaining more on the infrastructure stuff. I'm pushing forward here in a rather blunt way. You can see that as my panzers move forward, I got more information about the enemy units. All of the units in the game have reconnaissance points based on their type. So the more fast units have forward, the better information you have. And now, of course, my Romanians have activated. This is, well, you don't want them to spearhead your advance, of course. But also, I would like to keep some kind of pressure up here to push back the Soviets. Switching on the strategic map, you see, of course, that Finland, the Finnish front, is also, of course, covered. You can notice two things here: the S and the B signs. The B refers to the original border between Finland and the Soviet Union. The Finnish units are not supposed to go beyond these points without an event letting you know that they are able to. This usually happens once the Germans have advanced far enough north. The S are the surrender hexes for Finland. If the Soviets, very unlikely, but if they manage to push here, then the Finnish government will surrender. It's very unlikely. And when you are playing the Germans, well, you want to be careful. You want to push with the Finns, but because especially if you can trigger a Soviet response, that's usually good for you. But stay be careful because they might surprise you. It's unlikely, but can happen. I've seen Vedder mentioned in the chat. There is of course quite a detailed weather model in the game, and for example, if I got far enough, you would be able to see some of the summer rains that happened, and especially in July, and created some muddy conditions rather randomly. Yeah, I'm obviously not doing too well since I'm not even moving all my units. Just want to really run through most of the options we have in the game, as there's a lot. You can see on the HQ of the 18th Army that now, since I have been focusing on them, I have these extra options here. Basically just cheap cards which give different bonuses to all these armies units. And of course, again, you can see the range of the HQ since I have selected it. One more thing, you can see up there on the right the level of fuel allocated to that area. It's basically barrels of fuel, and when you are moving fast units, mechanized or armored units, you'll see that decreasing. Combat also decreases it. You want to keep a good eye on these fuel levels, and also the start of the turn reports also tell you how many quotas of fuel each theater have left. It's for your purpose, it's basically an abstract. That it's a carefully calculated number that shows you if you have one quota, it means you can operate your Panzergruppes in that theater for one turn. Okay, let's see. So this is, see, I could just barely start my offensive. Also in the game, there are all kinds of statistics that you can browse and study. The change of the level of equipment in your units, like the number of German Panzer IIs, you see, decreased. I don't have Italian infantry yet, but they will arrive. It's really extensive. Then you have the order of battle, of course. Now let me try and quickly switch over to the Soviet side. That's, of course, you are moving your units and fighting the same way. You have the same supply considerations, but you are on an entirely different level of command, and that is reflected in the game. You are playing Stalin himself, so you will not be caring for relationships that much. What you will care about is, well, repairing a very difficult situation. At the first turn, you kind of can select your own main objective, and also a bunch of what-if options which define the scenario. Like if for victory points, you can decide that the Great Purges in the Red Army never happened, and or that you managed to actually make a proper non-aggression pact with Japan, again for the price of victory points. Now you can see the AI doing its first turn. As you see, it's quite eager to break through, but also has the good sense to bottle up the enemy units so that they are easier to deal with. Okay, just skipping now. Okay, you get your styling quotes. A few things. You see troubleshooters. You have two really talented guys, Zhukov and Khrushchev. They are playable cards. Let's just go to the cards actually. You can assign them to any army HQ, and then they give you further options once there. You will be handling a lot of the most of the leadership of, decisions from here, from the cards, when you are playing the Soviets. Basically, you start in a horrible situation. Your armies are in offensive posture, so you want to change that, but that's not easy. As you see, changing to a neutral stance, just only 2 points. It costs 14 to go defensive. It's because, you know, it's such a centralized system, and it's in such an ineffective state that it takes a lot of effort from you as the main leader to achieve anything, because nobody dares to lift a finger without your approval, basically. Then you have a bunch of operations, fortifications. You have 1 hex each turn where you can build up fortifications. This is you don't want them too far from the front, so they are not wasted, but also you don't want to get them too close and have them overrun before your units can actually make a stand there. Same for the city garrisons, which I mentioned earlier. Then kind of making a concentrated effort of breaking out from a cut-off city. A bunch of very different command options. Give priorities to one of the fronts. Give a victory speech. This becomes more expensive as the more you use it. One of the big this is one of the piecemeal decisions of reorganizing the command structure, so the penalties will on your units will be less. You can release one of the Tsarist generals from Siberia to take over from the often inept and untalented guys you have command at the start. But then again, this raises your paranoia level, which is kept track of, and can have all kinds of unpleasant effects. And then, you were the supreme leader, but your power wasn't absolute. The demand power means further reorganization to make things more effective. Also, you see that some of the units here are grayed out. This is because the guys, the officers in charge, they are randomized by default, by the way, of which officer is commanding where, so that for increased playability and also realism, because you cannot just learn the perfect strategy and keep playing the same way. So anyway, these guys have different initiative values, and which are also influenced by the bunch of factors, which in turn you can change via those card plays I just showed you. So for example, the fourth army cannot move. Some of these guys can only move a single hex, so has very limited movement action points because they just only partially managed to activate. It's not easy, but by finding the right balance between retreating and making a stand, and spending your precious few political points wisely, you can eventually turn this around. It's a very nice simulation of the kind of decisions that had to be made and the problems faced. And in closing and summary, it's I think really it's I could use the word revolutionary war game. This kind of focus on people management, on the personal relations that are in place in such a huge army organization, just in any organization. This has never been simulated. So, and the end result is a game that's very very easy to manage, but has some incredible depth and a huge replayability because of all these relationships, the different decisions you can make, and how those affect everything. So I hope I managed to give you a brief overview of the game. I couldn't cover everything in detail, but I hope it gives you an idea of how the game plays. The game is releasing on the 24th of November, so very soon. So keep an eye out for more news on it, and thanks for watching.